Dylan!
What is happening right now? Why?
To be totally honest, upon doing this review, this is the first time I've actually watched the Predator movie straight through. I've only seen clips before then. So the movie starts off with an alien spaceship appearing to drop something off into the Earth's atmosphere. Main character Dutch and his team are given a mission, and it's to rescue some foreign cabinet minister from, I guess, these insurgent people, and to be totally honest with you, I don't really care very much for this part of the movie because it is freaking boring. It's not the real important piece of information that is needed. Apparently this guy and Dutch are really good friends. Like, really good friends.
You son of a bitch.
Dylan, Dutch's Vietnam war buddy, decides to accompany his old friend. They head to the area, and I found it really strange that there's someone named Jim Hopper in this movie. But there's also someone who looks like Jim Hopper from Stranger Things. There's a guy named Hawkins there too. Now this isn't the Jim Hopper guy, this is Blaine. But does he not look like Jim Hopper from Stranger Things? And don't you all try to tell me it's the same person, because these two, clearly their ears are different, but they look like they could be brothers. Anyway, I just found that interesting. Anyway, when the crew all gets to the ground, there's blood everywhere. And Billy, the Native American looking guy, who's I guess supposed to be the tracker, because of course, why would they not use a Native American as the person who can track things and smell things with his nose? Stereotyping is real. And when he climbs up that tree, what does he find? Some other soldiers that Dutch knew. But that's not the only thing. They're skinned. Understandably, Dutch and his team are off-put by this. Later, Dutch and his men reach a guerrilla camp when he witnesses one of them executing one of the hostages. Dutch has an idea. I know, funny enough though, because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger and he can lift up a truck and whatnot, he sends the truck careening towards the building that explodes. With all the chaos, this gives him an in. One thing I will give this movie, it had its very silly moments, but I think it's the only movie I've seen to date that I can remember. I mean, I've just seen it, so it's not saying much, but it does a good job of making the soldiers feel like actual people, actual human beings that have relationships with one another, that care about one another. In every single one of these men's situations, I felt bad for them. I wanted them to be safe. They weren't just expendable numbers. I don't remember all their names, but I remember each of their distinct personalities. Badass Baldy, Gun Guy, or as I call him, 1987's version of Jim Hopper from Stranger Things, Barbie doll eyelashes, Butch, but his name is Dutch, Tracker or Sniffer, because in these movies they always have to put the Native American blood as a freaking tracker, dude who got wounded, other dude who looks just like the previous dude, and Geek Squad tech guy. Just me, just how I remember him. It's raining men. This whole segment with the fighting is, you know, whatever. I actually really love this movie, but good grief. Some of the lines, the one-liners they give Dutch are just cringe-inducing.
Yeah. Stick around.
Are you for real?
Cringe-worthy.
100%.
Seriously, what even was that? Stick around because, you know, the stupid knife that sounds like it had a cartoon sound effect added to it, and because it's sticking out of the guy's... Really? Really? Ugh.
Yeah. Stick around.
I really wish I could go back to when I first saw this movie, like actually was watching it, and just unsee that part right there. And they have his other line, and I get it, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, and maybe this was like a product of its time or something, but good grief. I don't even know if you could say it's a product of its time, because we have other movies like Aliens, you know, the Predator's nemesis. We have their movies, and they don't say stupid one-liners like that. Or like this one.
Knock, knock.
Everything went from being like really serious to Arnold Schwarzenegger just cutting some weird ass, untimely, ruining the immersion jokes. Anyway, the last remaining gorilla person just goes up to him, and honestly, you have to hear this segment for you to understand how silly it is. I know this movie was made in like the 80s. Like I said, I wouldn't be so critical of it if there were other movies that did way better. Okay, first of all, we can see clearly clearly that she doesn't cock or rack anything. First of all, the gun looks freaking fake. I don't even know what that is. But let's just say you want to emulate a real gun, right? Do you see her pulling back anything or racking anything? Yet that noise is made for some stupid reason when she's not even doing the motion of what the sound effect is trying to convey. She doesn't do anything. It's so dumb. And like, woman, why on earth would you know that there's an enemy afoot and you go up behind him and choose at that moment to make that stupid noise with your gun? Had they taken out that sound effect, the scene would have made a lot more sense. But no, plot armor, he hears the gun doing whatever the hell it's doing. And he's like, oh, now I hear someone. Would have been way more badass if he could detect her without her having even said anything or done anything, or without the stupid people adding this unnecessary sound effect that doesn't even fit because the person holding the firearm is not even doing any of those motions that the sound effect is for. Anyway, he knocks her out and discovers it's a girl, and he's like, oh no, now I feel horrible because it was a female trying to kill me, not a guy. Oh, I'm gonna treat her so well now. Bitch, really? I don't care who it is trying to kill me. Woman, man, child, rabid dog. I'm gonna fight for my life. If you're trying for my life, then you must want to lose yours. Anyway, badass Baldy's like, yeah, this feels weird. Dutch confronts Dylan, his friend, who then reveals to him, yeah, all of this was a ruse. The real mission is to stop a Soviet-backed invasion. As a matter of fact, the men that were skinned, the Green Berets that Dutch knows, were sent at an earlier time, weeks before, for this exact same mission. And they died. Of course, Dutch is very angry about this because what happened to those men out there could have happened to his men. He wonders what happened to Dylan, how he became like this. And Barbie Doll Eyelashes tells him, I grew up. Your men are expendable. He's acting like he's not one of those people. Dutch is like, you might be expendable. My men are not expendable. Anyway, while all this is going on, something's clearly watching them. And badass Baldy here, who's never liked Dylan, tells him to turn around so he could stab a scorpion off of his back, because that would have been deadly. I believe a scorpion was actually killed in the making of this film.
Thanks. Anytime.
Now, this next part is very important, or maybe not. It's not really important for the movie. It's just some, like, I guess, fear fodder or something. But it's something I never even realized was a situation, like, with this specific monster of this movie. Because by now, the thing that's looking at them is some kind of creature. The thing is watching them, and it's also taking note of their mannerism. The one guy tells the sniffer, Billy, a joke, one that he only gets, like, seconds after it's explained to him. They clearly used a pig noise to help with this and distorted it, and this part made it more creepy for me when you consider that it's the noise of a pig laughing. Imagine a swine laughing. That sends shivers up my freaking spine. But this thing that's watching them can clearly mimic them, which is odd. It's never really used in the movie for any real purpose, except I guess to freak people out or something. Anyway, Billy can sense something. He can sense something watching him, but he's not sure what it is. It's like he knows exactly where to look in the trees, but as far as he's concerned, there's nothing there, because whatever this thing is has a cloaking ability that makes him invisible if he's standing still. Stuff just got real.
Shit is real! Shit is getting real!
As they're continuing their journey, Billy, the tracker, sees something or senses something. And this is honestly a scary part of the movie. And honestly, it's the suspenseful parts that make this movie so amazing. Because I can imagine being on this guy's left and coming up to him, seeing him look into thin air. And then when you ask him what's going on, he gives you this reply.
What the hell is wrong with you?
There's something in those trees.
While they're distracted, the girl hits one of the guys in the head with a twig, and another one of Dutch's men go after her. He is then attacked by something. When the rest of the crew finds his body, it's nothing but a mound of flesh on the ground. When they ask the girl what happened, all she can say is that the jungle came alive in her language. Badass Baldy actually finds it first, and he's the first one to see a glimpse of it as it shimmers. Honestly, his reaction is freaking everything, because it is so clear that this guy is scared out of his butt cheeks. Honestly, his reaction reaction is so freaking real. And with him being the first one who glimpsed this, while he's all alone, I do not blame him for his actions. But what I absolutely love is when everybody comes in, and it's a testament to how close they all are, because when they come after he calls them, they all start shooting alongside him, no questions asked. I mean, just look. That is fear incarnate. After they unleash World War Ultimate on it, they don't find a body, which is frightening. But the girl finds blood, light green blood, and she realizes it's blood but tells nobody. He sees it and says nothing. Weird. At night, they keep watch, and unfortunately, one of Badass Baldy's friends have died, the Jim Hopper dude. They set up a perimeter and take turns keeping watch throughout the night. Understandably, they're on high alert. One thing that Dutch just happens to know is that with Anna, when one of his men had gone to retrieve her when she tried to get away, the monster killed him but didn't kill Anna, and he deduces because she was unarmed. How would he know that? After the guy that looks like Jim Hopper named Blaine's body was taken last night, Dutch makes an assessment that despite the perimeter that they set up, the creature was still able to come in without setting it off. It was actually a boar that had set it off, and that badass Baldy had ended up killing. And this is because the creature is using the trees. So they fortify the perimeters this time, making sure that they also build traps in the trees. This way the creature only has one place to come in. The plan works and they manage to catch the creature. Very chilling when you realize that the creature was right there next to Dutch. Unfortunately, the trap is short-lived. The creature gets away anyway. This time, more of them see it. Heartbroken by the loss of his best friend, Badass Baldy goes after him. When Dylan goes after Badass Baldy, they both hide under a cove. Badass Baldy shows him the predator, the thing that had been hunting them. Yeah, but nothing matters because those two end up dying very quickly and very close to each other. No plan that these guys have seemed to be working against this thing, and the predator gets the drop on Dylan. How is that possible? Okay, so fingers on the trigger finger, but somehow it comes off and is still firing before it goes back on. It's not even on. How is the gun firing? Poor Dylan fights to the death. And of course, he is shish kebabbed, while Billy, the tracker, is like, all right, it is what it is. I'm gonna cut myself, come at me, bro. And he does this to give his friends enough time to escape. They had cut the girl loose because they're all in the same boat anyway. Billy dies very quickly. While it's just Dutch, wounded guy, and the girl tries to help Dutch by picking up the gun. But Dutch swears that the reason why she's safe right now is because she's not armed. Again, makes no sense how he would know that, but oh well, movie logic. This thing has used its gun, or whatever that piece of machinery is, to punch holes through people and blast open their heads like watermelons. So I really don't know how it's possible that this thing manages to shoot Dutch and he only get like a little scrape on his shoulder. Then comes the iconic scene that everybody always mimics in their videos. And now I can actually see it in context and it makes sense.
Go! Get to the chopper!
Then we see pure fear as Dutch is running for his life, the thing chasing him all the way right behind him. Dutch takes a bad slip, and I swear this is the end of Dutch, as we can see him about to fall down on the rocks below over this cliff. Just look at the rocks are right there, bro. Look at it. Look how far out. If I'm over exaggerating, please let me know. But look, when he falls, he is sliding outward, and you can see his shadow there on the left, and it looks as though, as per his trajectory, water is a pretty far way away, so he would at least, at the most, land somewhere here or on the rocks. And the credits should be rolling right now, so please explain to me how in the next scene, as he is falling, he manages to land in clear water, because clearly that is not where he was prepared to land. That made no freaking sense. Man, I didn't realize plot armor was such a thing until I've watched these older movies. Dutch falls over a waterfall. And when he emerges, he thinks he's safe until he hears something plop in the water behind him. And I can understand that in these times, people watching this in movie theaters or wherever it came out must have been really freaking insane with fear. See what I mean? I'm sorry. I would not have been able to move my legs. They would have been sliding in place with how freaking fast I was trying to go and how scared I would have been. By the way, see that little cut on his shoulder? That's all the blaster did while it busted open people's heads into a freaking crater the size of the one that was left behind as a result of the meteor that caused the extinction of the dinosaurs. Inadvertently, Dutch is covered in mud, and when the creature emerges, would you look at that? Can't see him because having been in the water and the mud, his body heat is completely cloaked. And this is the first time that we actually get to see the creature. And we see that the creature can see only the little bit of heat with it being barely exposed. So that means that any part of you that is not covered in mud or that is just a little bit warm, like your mouth opening, or if you're bending over or something, the creature can see straight into you, you're dead. Dutch realizes that the mud was what was cloaking him. So he spends his time making traps while a lot of him is exposed. Not to mention, all this work generates a lot of heat. Also creates a lot of noise. At night, he needs to see to continue his work, but the hottest thing in the entire forest apparently does not bring the alien to his location. Because sure, why not? Plot armor. Why don't you use that plot armor and freaking wear it so you can defeat the alien? Then he makes like a Tarzan call, like he had to, like the bonfire that you built that was half the size of the forest wasn't enough. Dutch has to beat the creature at his own game. The creature is way more stealthy than Dutch, but Dutch definitely holds his own and manages to outsmart the predator a few times. Right now, the creature still can't see Dutch. I don't know how, because despite the mud cooling his body, you would think that it would start melting off by now or showing through. When the creature outsmarts Dutch, he ends up falling into the water, washing off all the mud. This makes him visible by the creature, who surprisingly doesn't kill him right away, and is more fascinated by him, wondering what makes this one so special. Since Dutch is unarmed, the creature steps away and takes off all his weapons. Clearly, this is sport for him. He wants to fight one-on-one, and reveals his face.
One ugly motherfucker.
So he makes his alligator hissing noise, and poor Dutch is beat senseless. Physically, he is just no match for this creature, who doesn't even seem as though it's even trying to beat him up. Dutch tries to lead it into a booby trap, thinking that the creature's stupid, but the predator is like, okay, I can clearly see the spikes right here. And Dutch should have realized that it figured out the plan, but yet, like an idiot, he's still like, come on, come and get me. I'm right here. Creature's like, you know what, I'll take the long way around. But it doesn't matter because the booby trap had accounted for this, and it squishes the creature. Dutch is about to finish it, but seeing that the creature's basically already dead, out of honor, he drops the rock. Then the creature starts doing something. He sets what sounds like a bomb counting down. You would think if you're gonna make a self-destruction sequence, you're doing it for the enemy, you have an option to make it silent so the enemy doesn't realize what you're doing, so they have enough time to leave the area. And then because it learned to mimic, it starts laughing. I'm sorry, I know this is a classical movie and whatnot, but what the fuck was that? That was so freaking cringy. Oh my god, it's painful. It's painfully bad. Like, I don't know who, maybe I'm watching another cut of this movie, but I swear to god, I hope this is not the official version because they should have left it out. Should have left that out. Just ruined the immersion for me. Of course, because of his plot armor, the thing explodes, Dutch makes out alive, and the girl who had gotten on the chopper pilot come back to retrieve him. He's the only survivor. And as he is seen on the helicopter, he looks shell-shocked. Why do all horror movie thriller movies from the 80s sound like that? Like some horror movie from Mario. Anyways, despite all the weirdness about this movie, it was pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's like the best movie ever, but I guess if you're judging it from nostalgia terms and something that was a good idea, I guess you can say this was it. I didn't really have a lot to go on when I was looking at AVP. I didn't really understand why a lot of people were as mad about it, with the exception of the girl teaming up with the predator and being able to beat him because he's a badass. If they're talking about that, I can completely understand. But if you guys are watching it, please let me know. I haven't watched the subsequent Predator films. Maybe I've seen like little bits and pieces of them. But what could they have made better about the newer movies, and what ticked you off most about them? I'll be covering those too because I did that with the Alien franchise, so you know, gotta follow it through with this one. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.